Hey, it's Vas here from Aussie Airspace and welcome back to yet another unboxing slash build. Today we have a brand new plane once again. This is the AVIOS Extra NG, which is available as a plug and play or plug and fly. It is 1.6 meter wingspan. It runs on 6S. I believe according to the specs, it's anything from a 3500 to a 4200, but I will be experimenting a little bit, maybe going a bit lighter, going a bit heavier, see what works, what doesn't, what we can fit in here, whether it's going to improve flight times, hinder performance, all that sort of thing. And then of course, I'll give you my feedback when I do the final review. I'm going to try and put some specs up on screen as I'm talking to you as well, because there is a lot of features with this aeroplane. It comes with LED lights, quick release wings, in a sense, it's just little thumb screws that you need to put on and off. And yeah, there's a couple of extra features in here as we go through this and put it all together. So without further ado, let's get this guy out of the box, lay it all out here on the table, and then yeah, we can get started and put this guy together. Taking a look at this first wing, feels incredibly light for its size. The foam feels very dense. All plastic hinges running throughout the control surfaces. Nice large servos. Thick push rods with ball links all the way around. LED lights here on the tip. A couple of leads. One is obviously for the LED and the other one is for the aileron. And then you can see the aluminium piece here that will go into the fuselage, and then you'd use your little thumb screws to screw this guy into place. Very, very clean finish. Nice big hole for the spar here. Yeah, I like this. Feels incredibly light for its size. Very, very cool. Now the rudder here does look a little bit interesting. You can see that it has, I don't know, half-sided kind of piece that's going to be glued onto the fuselage, I presume. And then that's going to attach it permanently to the fuse. Quite a big rudder, massive control horn just there, very thick. Bit of reinforcement on the bottom here as well with some extra screws. Got to see how all this goes together, but yeah, so far that looks pretty good. Now this is pretty cool. I was not expecting them to supply a pilot. Inside the fuselage or inside the canopy there is a hole for a pilot. And well, I suppose if you paint this guy up, you can put him in there. And here is the fuselage, and as I said, despite the fact that this is only a 1.6 meter, this thing is monstrous. Like, it is massive. I like that they've still got the cling wrap on the canopy here for you to peel off. Looks like it's got a nice spring-loaded latch here on the front. Let's see if I can open this guy up. Here we go, got that. Look at the size of this thing. That's the huge canopy. And here we are, very, very spacious interior. I can see that there's a spot there just for the receiver. And then of course you've got to mount up your motor, which is buried in there. I need to try and get that guy out. But wow, what a beast of a fuselage. Okay, so there we go. That's everything out of the box. We've got both our spars, which we're hiding underneath the fuselage. We've got our landing gear, we've got our wheels, our spats, our spinner, the cowling, the pilot, which is optional. We've got the prop, the two horizontal stabilizers, our main wings, our rudder, which is going to attach to the fuselage here via some glue. We've got a bag full of bits and pieces. This is what's in the bag. There's a bit of everything, some hardware, a couple of extra push rods, which will of course be for your elevator and your rudder, the tail wheel assembly. There's also what looks like an instruction manual for the ESC for any type of programming that you want to do. We've got some plastic screws here. We've also got some extra servo horns. Yeah, there's a lot of little bits here that we'll need to obviously complete the build. First thing I'm going to do is glue that rudder on, because that's going to take a little bit of time to dry up. So I'm going to glue that, and then I'm going to actually change the connector on the ESC, because it comes with an XT90 and I use XT150s. So that's going to get swapped over, and whilst I'm doing that, that rudder is drying, and then I can come back and we can start putting some of the other bits together. Right, so this is what I'm up to so far. I've installed my horizontal stabilizer or elevator. My rudder's glued into place as well. The elevator is held in place by 4 self-tapping screws. There are 2 on this side and 2 on this side, so really easy to do. Make sure you put your spar in as well. And then of course you've got your tail wheel here. Now there is a little cap that you need to remove. You can see that there's 3 little screws. This removes this cap. You insert your tail wheel and then you put the screws back. I found this last screw here to be a little bit troubling because the wheel's kind of in the way. You can probably do it without removing the wheel, but I just took out this little retainer here and took the wheel off, and it was obviously a very easy thing to do to put that screw back in. This wire that holds the wheel actually has a little flat spot there, and you'll know exactly where to put that retainer back in. And I was actually pleasantly surprised to see that this grub screw actually has a little bit of Loctite in it. So big thumbs up there for AVIOS for including some Loctite. Now you'll notice as well that there's some notches cut out here for these control horns, so you get maximum deflection and you're not dinting your foam. You know, the foam's kind of like pre-dinted for you. They've also done a similar thing here on the elevator, so when you know, you get full deflection, it's going into that little notch there. So pretty neat. Now it's time to put these control rods in. For me to do that, I need to power the plane up first to neutralize the servos, then install the servo horns, and then of course install the push rods. And these can stop flapping around as they are at the moment. So we'll do that, and then maybe I'll move on to the front end of the plane, install the motor, and get all that done. And then the last thing will probably be the main wings, because I don't want to be moving this thing around with the wings on because it's such a big plane. So let's move on to the next step. Okay, so here we are with the tail section all done. My push rods have been installed. I've powered up the plane. I've centered everything. So that took a little bit of time. You will need to undo some of these to get them to be right. Otherwise, you're going to be putting in a heap of trim. And now the plane isn't powered in, so you know, these will move around a little bit. But I've got them pretty well set, and I'm pretty happy with the way that that's turned out. I've also installed the motor and cowling at the front. Now there is a slight error in the manual. The manual says that these screws here are 25mm self-tapping screw. That's actually incorrect. It's actually their machine screws. Now most people will be able to figure that out, but if you can't, well, now you know that they've actually included machine screws. There's 3 of them. They are 25mm long, so they're quite long because they need to grab onto the back of the motor mount, and they go into what I think is like a blind nut, and they screw in that way. Motor, absolute monster, 500 kV, I believe. Huge thing. Plugged it in, checked the direction and everything, so we're all good to go. I'm just running a bolt battery in here just to power everything up. I haven't changed the plugs out yet because the ESC was tied up and I didn't want to mess around with that, so I'll do that later. I have switched out from a 4-channel receiver to a 6-channel because they don't give you a Y lead for your ailerons. And I have sort of plugged my wings in already to test everything out. They don't give you a Y lead, and they kind of assume that you're going to plug your ailerons in to their own channels. And that's fair enough, because I had to adjust each aileron independently anyway. And I had to do it a little bit with sub trim. So it's not a bad idea. You can of course do it with a Y lead, but you'll need to supply your own Y lead because it doesn't come with one. And then go from there. So you are going to need 6 channels as a minimum. If you're not going to use reverse thrust. I don't see the need for reverse thrust unless you've got like a paved runway. But even then, I mean, I think these things can slow down well enough. I don't really think you need reverse thrust. But you've got throttle, you've got one aileron, you've got your elevator, your rudder, your second aileron, and then your 6th channel is just a spare port for the LEDs. There are 2 wires. Well, this little guy here plugs into your receiver, and that powers all of the LEDs. And then when you plug in your wings, you've got 2 JST connectors here that go to your LED plugs, and then you plug your ailerons into your receiver. I got to tidy this up. I got to stick my receiver down and do some wire management and everything. We'll tidy everything up. That's almost done. The next step here is going to be to do the landing gear. So I'm going to get to work on that. And put that guy together and install it in the plane, and then yeah, we'll be ready to put the wings on and go from there, and this guy should be done. Well, there you go, it's all finished. I probably got a little bit carried away after I did the landing gear. All I had to do was just put the wings on, do my wire management, and this bird was ready to rock and roll. So landing gears goes together really straightforward. They give you these screws that are attached to the wheels that have like a little spacer in them and everything. It's really straightforward, and then you put a secondary screw with a washer to lock the spat in place so it doesn't dance around, and that's really it. I put a bit of Loctite on those screws just to make sure they don't come off, and the landing gear was done. So really simple. Then of course it's just a matter of attaching the wings and plugging everything into your receiver and everything else. So I'm going to show you something that I did with the receiver to make life a little easier for me, because I think that's one of the things that they could have done a little bit better in as far as putting the wings on and off. But yeah, I mean, this went together relatively easy with filming and everything, probably a couple of hours, and I had this guy together. And it really comes down to the fact that you got to put your servo horns on, you got to make sure that the push rods are the right length, you got to adjust everything. Obviously try to mechanically adjust your ailerons and your control surfaces as best you can, and do minimal sub trim and trimming in the air, and this guy is pretty much ready to go. Now as far as spares and everything that you get, there is a quick start guide that comes with the plane, and of course there will be a QR code to the manual. Given that I got this before release, that manual is not currently available on the website, but I did get a digital manual sent to me, so I was able to sort of guide myself through it. And it's got the recommended battery. In here they actually say 3300 to 5000, so you can run a variety of batteries in this aircraft, which is I guess a good thing, because not everybody has these like specific types of batteries. Some people will have smaller ones, bigger ones, and you can experiment to see what works for you. Important thing is that there is CG markings on there, which I've done and marked them on my wing. I don't know if you can see the little dot that I've put on the wing there. It may not be visible on camera, but there is a little green dot which is marking my center of gravity. As far as extras, they do give you these little, I don't know what they call them, like shark's teeth type thing. My Flex Mamba 10, Mamba, whatever it is, that's got these on the wings, and it's supposed to help in some way. Now if you run your finger right along the edge here, you can see that there's a cavity underneath the tape or the sticker. You can just run a little knife across there just to cut the sticker, and then you can glue these into place. I may or may not do this. I don't know. I think it might be okay to put them on. They'll look pretty cool. Now there is of course a pilot that they give you, but before I get to that, I do want to show you a couple of other things. They actually supplied an extra little coupling here, which I think is for the tail wheel. So it's an extra one for the tail wheel in case that one goes missing. You get an extra one. I don't see anywhere else where this could be useful other than there. And then of course there's the manual for the speed controller, which I mentioned early on. So the pilot, which is this little guy, which you can paint up if you want to, I suppose you don't really have to, goes in here. And you might be thinking, oh, if I can take this guy out of here, because it is a little bit tricky, you might be thinking that you got to unglue the canopy to put him on, but that's not the case. This here actually comes off. If you give this a little jiggle, you can actually take this off. Now, I had to push mine in first and sort of crack the seal a little bit, and this just comes off. And then you can put your pilot in there and then just pop that back on, maybe a couple of drops of glue, and that's it. As far as this tape, well, let's do the honors, shall we? Boom, brand new canopy right there. I'll just toss that off to the side. And before we put the canopy back on, I do want to show you my wire management and everything inside as best as I can. I'll see if I can maneuver this. Let me see if I can do it like that. Yep, that'll work if I rest it on the landing gear. So I've got my receiver here. It's just a 6-channel receiver. And what I've done that's a little bit different for a bit of quality of life, rather than having to plug my ailerons into the receiver every single time I take the wings on and off, I've actually put a couple of extensions coming off the receiver, and then the ailerons plug into that. So I don't know if you can see that on there. I can't hold the plane and point it to you at the same time, unfortunately, because it's so big. But this is the aileron wires just there. And you've got the power for the LEDs coming off that as well. I've zip tied everything, but I think I may actually try and maybe run some shrink wrap over these wires or something, or I might just leave it. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I just found that it's probably going to be a lot easier for me to, rather than fight with the other plugs that are on the receiver, I can just plug them in on extensions. It just makes more sense to do it that way. I've currently got a 4500 Bolt X battery in here. I need to change out my connectors on the ESC. I'll do that in my own time. And then of course you got your thumb screws that hold the wing in place, and that's really it. Like there's a lot of room here for some really big batteries. There's actually additional battery straps. There's 2 more battery straps going towards the front of the plane. So you could probably run more batteries, or run batteries in series, or in parallel rather. So if you got 2 smaller batteries, maybe we can run one at the front, one at the back. I don't know. Like there's a lot of room here to play around with and do a lot of things with batteries. And they've actually got some CG markings on the plywood on either side here. So it's actually, if anything, I'm a little bit forward. If those CG markings on the plywood is correct, I'm about 10 mil forward. But the manual does say 100 to 105. I've actually gone 105. So who knows, maybe I'll start moving it back a little bit the more comfortable I get with this plane. But I think for the maiden flight, I'll leave it as is. So let me reposition this guy back in place, and we'll wrap this one up. All right, so that's going to do it for yet another unboxing / build here on the channel. Again, a big shout out to HobbyKing for sending this one out for review. I'm very much looking forward to flying this and seeing how far I can push the plane and how far I can push my skills. I am not an established 3D pilot, but I can do a couple of moves here and there. And I've always wanted something that's proper 3D to try out. And yeah, this is going to be a fun one for sure. So stay tuned for the flight video. As soon as the weather clears up, I'll try and get some footage out for you. And then of course I'll do a review at the end, you know, in a few weeks or a couple of months when I have a bit of time, and give you my final thoughts on this plane. But for now, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you all very much for watching. If you're still here at the end, hey, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button before you go. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll be speaking to you all next time.